coming to life.
Can you still taste the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name's Mark. I appreciate you tuning in on this lovely Saturday evening, or at least here in Virginia. It's a beautiful spring evening, and in Darlington it seemed to be a warm one, and looks like tomorrow will be also quite warm. Highs in the mid 80s and bright sunshine with new tires, low downforce, and 750 horsepower. That should be fun. Practice was... I don't even really know what to make of practice at this point. The Xfinity race was abnormally kind of dull. I mean, it was cool because Larson led a huge chunk of it, but other than that, the only passing that really happened was on pit road. And, I mean, there was some passing on the track, but it wasn't quite what I expected. So I'm hoping that the new tire, new lower downforce, higher horsepower, super hot track provides us lots of entertainment. I'm not looking for a wreck fest or anything like that, but big tire fall off. We did see that in practice, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But either way, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And Lost Prophet, yes, the lady in black is back. And we'll see what kind of lady she is tomorrow. Whether she's going to be all that menacing or not. That is to be decided. But last year, at the end of the year, or the start of the playoffs, Chase Briscoe got his win here in the 19 car, his second of the Southern 500 at Darlington. So should that be somebody we look at? Can he turn his almost miserable season at this point around and get to victory lane? Last week he kind of headed in the right direction a little bit more, so we'll see. Speaking of last week, Denny Hamlin with his 61st or 62nd win, I can't remember, 61st, I think, win with his whole family was there, including his mom. That was really great to see. And good for Denny Hamlin. He absolutely had the absolute most dominant car all day long at Las Vegas. And good for him. After his miserable offseason, well, ups and downs. Roller coaster of a offseason for Denny Hamlin. But either way, let's look at the optimal lineup from Vegas last week, like we always do, and see what we predicted right, what we predicted wrong, and all the sorts. Denny Hamlin was definitely one of the two that I had kind of thought may end up being one of the dominators. I also thought that Christopher Bell would have also been one, but the outside pole sitter at Vegas, looking back on it, seems to be the better spot of the two starting spots. Not that the pole sitter doesn't do quite as well as the outside pole sitter, but either way, Chase Elliott coming from 15th to 2nd. Good solid run for Chase Elliott. William Byron, just one of those that just he and Ty Gibbs both just stayed up front all race. Never really battled for the lead all that much, but they just, held their own. And sometimes we've talked about that. It's start up front, stay up front, and it'll get you enough points. Ty Gibbs with 40.15, the price tag on him last week really helped get him into that optimal lineup. Brad Keselowski with a big place differential move from 28th to 10th, and Austin Dillon being extraordinarily cheap at $5,800. He just needed to finish where he started. So all in all, not a bad day. I definitely did not get the Austin Dillon pick quite right. And I guess at this point, we probably need to be on the Ty Gibbs bandwagon. I think I said that last week that probably needed to happen. And he just continues to rattle off top 10 finishes time in and time out. And oh, yeah, I live close to the train tracks and the windows are open because it's such a nice night outside. So just bear with the choo-choo train in the background. But, other guys that ended up finishing well, Kyle Larson led 62 laps, finished in 7th. Briscoe with that 8th place finish kind of got his season back on track. Chris Buescher just continually being stealth at this point and getting a 6th place finish. He's quietly putting himself together a pretty good season so far. Austin Cindric from 31st to 19th, Joey Logano 21st to 15th. Not all that great for Joey Logano, but still not a bad day for him. Ryan Preece kind of holding his own, and same with Bubba Wallace, both finishing, top 12. By the way, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace holding down the top spots, and now including Ty Gibbs with 3 optimal lineups out of those 5 races. We're on to race 6. Can one of them get into the optimal again, or will we see some other movement towards the top? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's get to it. Let's head to the track 2 Tough to Tame, the Lady in Black, Darlington, whatever you want to call it. It's a great, fun track. I have been to a race there. If you haven't checked it out, definitely make a trip to Darlington. It is well worth the weekend to go see a race there. It's usually a lot of fun. What's up, Daniel? You'll be playing catch up after supper. Sounds good. Go enjoy your dinner, and we will hopefully see you at some point. But good job on your win on Friday night. That was big. Track type is steep, high tire wear, intermediate in length, 1.33 miles, 25 degrees in 1 and 2, 23 degrees in turns 3 and 4. As you can see from the picture, it is an odd shape. They call it the egg. It's got a much wider circumference at one end and a much tighter circumference at the other end, which makes it for very interesting. We have, of course, 3 stages like we always do, except for at the Coke 600, where we have 3 stage breaks or 4 stages. We have 90 laps, 185 and 293. And, with the caution laps that are counted, pretty much it's 90, 90, 90 is what it really pretty much ends up to be. So we've got 3 pretty much equal stages for this race tomorrow. With the fall off that we saw, I think probably the tires will hold up for the 45 laps or so that these drivers will need to make it on one stop in each stage. I think there is some theories going on about potentially making 2 stops if we have green flags. I completely meant to look. Maybe we can look at that real quick. Let me do a quick search. I meant to search pit road speed or time for Vegas 2026. Let's see if it pulls it up real quick, because there was definitely some interesting things that kind of happened in the race from last week that really, because it was the first time we'd had green flag pit stops, to where you could actually lose 1 or 2 laps by making green flag pit stops if you made it too soon and a caution came out or whatever. But at that point, it really was very dependent on how fast your pit crew was, on how much time you either lost or how much time you gained on the field. And I'm not seeing anything with what I typed in. I'm going to start putting that into these videos, because I think it ends up being pretty important. Because the guys that were really quick on pit road, I think Christopher Bell was one of them. His pit crew was extremely fast, which they typically are. Your top teams typically are. Joe Gibbs has always had really fast pit crews. Hendrick also, but that seems to be if we start to see more and more green flag pit stops, which we might have tomorrow, that will start to give us some indications on what drivers to take based on pit road speeds or pit road timing. It's just because under yellow, yeah, you might lose a spot or two here or there because your pit crew is a little faster, a little slower, and that makes up a difference, but you're not losing time on the track. And losing that time on the track, it's extremely difficult to ever make up, especially if you're in stage, the third stage or whatnot. So it definitely makes a big difference. But that's the race length of the race tomorrow, 293. We go 367 in the fall. It's the Southern 500, and that one's always been the longer of the two races. Other tracks to compare to, you can look at Dover, you can look at Miami Homestead, you can look at Kansas, and of course Darlington. You can also, Bristol's a half mile, but the tire wear is pretty extreme at Bristol now that they've got the tires figured out. So you could even go look at what drivers were really good at saving their tires or utilizing their tires the best. Good evening. I'm back to further my DFS learning experience. Good luck to you and everyone else. Yes, good luck to you. We'll see if we can find a sneaky pick for this week. You got anything in your magic hat for the old lady in black this weekend, or you want to see what we can come up with? Either way, always love to hear from you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate it. All right, so our previous past two Darlington optimal lineups. Now remember, like I said, the fall races are an extra 100 miles or approximately about 80 extra laps. So it does change the dynamic of potential dominator points, but the fast guys are always the fast guys. But either way, in the fall race, Chase Briscoe led 309 laps. He absolutely just put a whooping on the field. This year's going to be a little different. The setups are going to be different. The horsepower is different. The tires are different. All the things are different this year. I still think the cream's going to rise to the top. The Joe Gibbs, Hendrick guys are going to be the faster of the group. And 2311, as we see in qualifying, they smoked the field. That is for sure. But one dominator, 4 place differentials, 4 value picks, which is $7,500 or less in price, and 5 drivers who finished in the top 5. $5,100 left over. That's a lot of money left over. We don't see that with the rest of the optimal lineups. In the spring race, which would be the equivalent for this one, was 297 laps. William Byron dominated, but did not win. Either way, only losing 1 spot gave him a ton of dominator points. Once again, 1 dominator, 3 place differential, 2 values, and 4 people finishing in the top 5. And we had $9,700. Tyler Reddick got 52 points. This comes in handy when we're building our lineups on looking at how many points the expensive guys need to get to potentially make this optimal lineup. Of course, the dominator will easily make it in there, but how far down can somebody go? And then Christopher Bell at 9,500 had 56.8 points. Tyler Reddick had 63.4. We had actually 4 drivers up here that were $9,500 or more. That's a ton of money. So you definitely had to find the cheaper options to make that lineup work. I would doubt that anybody would have actually had this full lineup built, especially with SVG being new to the ovals, that you would have taken a chance on putting him into your lineups. So I doubt anybody had this optimal lineup, but either way, 56.8 points was kind of the threshold there. And then the fall Darlington from 24. We had Kyle Larson once again dominating with 263 laps, seeing a pattern here. Usually we find one driver who just goes out and just dominates the field. Kyle Larson with a 263 got over 123 points. Denny Hamlin was the threshold person at 70.4. And then we had nothing but pretty much value from that spot on. So almost the inverse of the spring race of 2025, where we had 4 expensive drivers, we have 4 inexpensive drivers. And this is more typical. You typically will have 2 expensive drivers and 4 inexpensive drivers. And then if we look at the spring Darlington race, as we can see, we had kind of a 3 and 3. It was kind of a split. But either way, we still had at least one dominator, Tyler Reddick, leading 174 of 293 laps, well more than 50%. And he even fell all the way to 32nd and still made the optimal lineup. So if you can pinpoint that dominator, even if they happen to have a bad day, this is where he and Chris Buescher ended up having some issues. Hold on for me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. The TV in the other room was a little bit on the loud side. 174 laps. So the theme pretty much is find at least one of the dominators. And you can potentially even have kind of a secondary, Brad Keselowski leading 37 laps, 26 fast laps, starting in second, finishing in first. Also, the theme, we're taking guys that are starting up front for those dominator spots. Bell starting in 17th, going up to third. But I'm sorry, William Byron first to second, leading 243. Second to first, 309. Third place start Briscoe finished in first and led 29 laps. The pole sitter, Tyler Reddick, 174 laps. So typically the guys that start up front stay up front for most of this race. Clean air is typically king. Now with the new aero package, downforce package that they're going to be running, we might be able to see a little bit easier time passing. But either way, both of these races, so 3 out of the 4 races, we've had significant money left over. So don't be nervous if all of a sudden you build your lineup and you've got $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 left over. That might be okay. And you might have to spend it all too, because we did do that in the spring race last year. All right, so we pretty much have 52, 56, 55, 70. So I'm just going to call it, we'll just keep the line at about 60 to be on the safe side for the more expensive drivers to kind of reach that threshold to get into the optimal or potential optimal lineup. There's always a little bit of variable there, but we'll call it 60 for this week. And then if we look at the rest of where the points come from, what I always try to do is try to find the 15 drivers that I think have the best potential to be in the top 15 in points. And where do they start from? Because that kind of gives me an indication is, do I need to backload? And, at Daytona and Talladega, it's always stack the back. Where these other races, it's kind of a mixed bag, or is it more you want to start a bunch from the front? Like the truck and Xfinity races, both of those don't take the guys starting in the back unless you had, one of the, top 10 players, if all of a sudden Kyle Larson messed up in qualifying and was starting 28th in the race, you would put him in. But if the inexpensive guys are starting in the back, typically they stay back there. And Darlington has not shown up to be a huge attrition type of race. Now with this new package, we might see some more attrition or faulty tires or strategies gone wrong. But I still, this kind of shows that we've got 2.8, 1.8, so right at 5, starting in the top 10, 4.2 starting 11 through 20, 3.8 starting 21 to 30. It seems to be a pretty balanced load across the board. Because, starting 31st to worst, we probably only have 7 drivers that are starting back there, or 6 drivers starting back there. So it's kind of a balanced build when we're looking at where we're starting people from. So, we're looking at probably 1 or 2 guys that are starting in the top 10, 1 or 2 guys 10, 11 through 20, 1 or 2 guys in the, 20 to 30 range, and then maybe 1, maybe 2 drivers that are starting 31st or worse. So that's kind of where the build comes from. And as we can see, front row starters that have made the top 15 in points, both of them did it in the fall last year. One did it in 2025. None did it in 2024, but 2 did it in the spring of 2024. So don't be scared of the front row. We'll have to look at practice speeds, but we've got Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, Larson, all starting kind of towards the front. Hold on, is Chase Elliott starting that far up? I didn't think he was starting that far up. Did I screw that up? Hold on. Up. Where is my pricing? There it is. Of course, my computer's going to be slow. Chase Elliott. No, he's starting third. Wow. All right. He had a really good qualifying. I missed that. I thought he qualified worse. That's pretty scary because usually he does qualify pretty poorly. So, I mean, we've got all 5 of the drivers starting in the top 5 are not too bad. And then Denny Hamlin starting in 9th is one of the better drivers here. Blaney is a little. The Penske drivers, I really don't know what to make of their practice speeds. I don't know what we saw this last week at Las Vegas that they just didn't practice all that well, and sure enough, Joey Logano, everybody but Blaney, and Blaney really didn't have that good of a day last week either. So I don't know what was going on with Penske in practice today, but they were way off. But as you can see, pretty much all these guys starting in the 30s. My ranking system, Todd Gillen is the highest ranked, and he's ranked 20th out of the 37 drivers. So there's not a whole lot that's going to be back here that at least my algorithm says should move forward much. So we'll have to see. All right, let's get into the driver breakdown and dig into it. If anybody's got any thoughts, wants, questions, concerns, ask away in the chat. Love to hear from you. And once again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate it. Ooh, another train. That was quick. All right, so if you are new here or if you happen to forget, this page is pretty much the stat page. It's so Denny Hamlin, $11,000 is the most expensive driver in Draftkings for this week. The 5 races on this page that we're looking at are the last 5. Joanne, you're liking Eric Jones. Okay. Eric Jones, this is probably Eric Jones's best track historically. So that's not a bad call. We'll look at his practice speeds and qualifying and see if he's somebody we want to look at. Now, I don't know how sneaky he's going to be because if you follow NASCAR at all, you would know that Eric Jones, this is one of his better tracks. So I don't know how sneaky it is, but I think it's still a very good, safe play. So the 5 races that we're comparing to, as long as they go twice a year to a track, it'll always be just one track that we compare to. The road courses where we only go once a year, we'll put in 5 of the most recent road courses, or if we go to Pocono, we'll start looking at other tracks because we only go to Pocono once. Same thing with Loudon, Iowa, Nashville, Gateway. There's a whole lot of tracks that we only go to once. And if we're trying to look at the history of that track, we literally, it'll take 5 years to have any data for Connor Zilic because he's never raced any of those tracks in the Cup Series. So that's why I always put in here, hey, we're looking at the last 5 races at Darlington for this week. That correlates with this line here, which is the 1 win. And this is 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 4 top 20s for Denny at Darlington. This is his Draftkings average. So remember, we're looking at that 60-point threshold for being up in the optimal lineup. And Denny Hamlin averages 54.4 over those 5 races. He also has an 8.8 average finish for those 5 races and an 8.0 average running position for those 5 races. Now we look at his practice speeds from earlier today. He was 14th in single lap. He did 32 32 total laps in practice, and he was 18th in what they call the 10-lap consecutive average. That is 10 consecutive laps without coming in for an adjustment or a pit stop or anything like that. And he was 18th out of the 37 drivers. So right down the middle. Then we look at where he finished this race last year, the last race we had at this track, and he finished 7th. So that kind of gives us a historical trend on kind of where he finished the last time they were here and things like that. And then we look at his total race history at Darlington. He's got 27 total starts, 5 wins, 15 top 5s, 21 top 10. So 21 out of 27 times he's finished in the top 10. So probably a fairly good play if we don't even think he's going to dominate. Do we think Denny Hamlin starts in the top 10 and stays in the top 10? Well, historically, he does pretty good job at that. He has a 7.3 average finish over those 27 total starts. So Denny Hamlin is a really, really solid pick for finishing in the top 10 or even potentially doing really well this weekend. All right, then we look at our practice speeds. Now, something that I definitely brought into the equation is they and a lot of times I don't really look at it because last week Phoenix was a little different because they had a really long practice session. Last week at Las Vegas, I really didn't see much of a difference between Group 1 and Group 2, but they split the field in half. And the group that finished worst in the previous weeks and in the points, their weird matrix they look at is how they split the group, and that's also how they decide who qualifies where. Group 2 is typically the slower group in practice, but the faster group in qualifying, if that makes a whole lot of sense. It does when you look at the physics of everything and the chemistry and all that. It does make sense. So what happens is in Group 1, the track is what they call green, which means it has very little rubber laid down on the track. You might have some from the Xfinity practice and qualifying, or maybe the truck race from the day before, or whatnot. But a lot of times, even just sitting out in the sun and them prepping the track, and they run the sweepers and blowers across the track, and that'll move some of the rubber out of the track. So the first group goes out, and the track has the most grip at that point because there's no real fresh rubber laid on. As they start to run, they start to lay down rubber, which then gets compressed into the pavement. So if you ever go look at pavement, you always see these little ridges, and it's rough. It's not smooth. So as the tire begins to go across and the tire heats up, those little pieces of rubber are hot enough that they actually will get down embedded into the pavement. Which that means at that point you're now racing on rubber and the rubber's not solid, and the abrasiveness of the racing surface, because we have concrete and we've got pavement. But so the rubber will start to get embedded into it, which makes it slicker. So the first guys to go out always run faster laps in practice 1. Now what happens is practice session Group 2 starts, which is actually the faster guys go run. Now they get 2 benefits here. Number 1, they've already got rubber laid down on the track, so that gives them a really good indication on what the racing surface will be like at lap 25 or 30 in the race, so they can start to set their cars up for that. But then they'll make adjustments for qualifying, because what will happen is you've got this 15-20 minute window between practice and qualifying where they'll send some sweepers, they'll send some blowers on the track, and that'll start to remove some of the rubber. But as one car goes at a time with fresh rubber, what that fresh rubber actually does is it actually picks the little pieces of rubber up out of the groove, because you don't have 16, 17 cars running all at the same time, embedding the rubber in, it actually will pull all of that rubber out. So the later in qualifying goes, the less rubber actually ends up being on the track. So that's why you always see the guys that are in group 2 will have faster laps. Also, the guys in group 2 are typically your faster drivers to begin with because that's how they got there. Family Man, tough to get a handle on how to build. I'm going to pick a long shot, and I think Bubba wins tomorrow. Woo. Yeah, 2311 looks really good. They're even the practice speeds were pretty good. And I tell you what, Reddick put down a monster of a lap. And Tyler Reddick, this might be one of Tyler Reddick's better tracks. So, yeah. And like I said, don't be scared of the front row. All right. So now let's look at our calculator. So we've got Denny Hamlin, who is starting in 9th. So this first little segment up here, which is the same track, which is what we just looked at, the 5 last races at Darlington. From best to worst, his best finish is 1st, his worst finish is 25th. In those 5 races, he has an average fast lap of 23.6 and an average fast lap of 44.2. That'll come in handy when we're trying to fill this out. This also has the last 5 trend. So this is the trend line over the last 5 races. And I separate the trend line out. I leave out road courses and I leave out the super speedways. This is traditional oval style tracks. Denny Hamlin has a best finish of 1st and worst finish of 35th. His average fast laps are 43.2, which is actually better than what his average fast laps is for Darlington. And then his average lap led is 101. Whew. I mean, a lot of that was last week at Las Vegas. He led a ton of laps. So either way, he's starting in 9th. And, if we look at his average fast laps, and we just even cut this off a little bit and go to 20 fast laps and 40 laps led. Now he's starting in 9th, so this might be a little bit difficult, but we'll take these out here in a second. But I wanted to show that if he starts in 9th and just finishes in 5th, and he's able to lead 40 laps, lead one of those segments that I talked about that they'll run, which is about 40 laps, and they're going to get new tires. So if Denny Hamlin can either pit early or pit late or have a better pit stop than other people and go out and get a lead, he might be able to lead 40 laps, regardless of whether we think he finishes in 1st or not. But either way, this shows he can go start in 9th, finish in 5th, lead 40 laps, have 20 fast laps, and he can still get to 62 points, which is in the optimal range. He can even probably fall to 6. Yeah, 6 would give you 60 points exactly. All right, so what happens if Denny Hamlin leads the token 1? Because I always give everybody the token 1 because it's always possible that you can just go out and lead a lap. Through pit cycles and everything else, you might just get that lucky 1. But let's say he gets, 15 fast laps, which is still way below his average for all these other tracks. Now he's down to 48 points. Well, he's still in the top 15 in point getters. So he's not a fade at this point. But how far up would he need to finish if that ends up being the case? He's going to need to finish 3rd or 2nd. And that still really doesn't put him over the 60-point threshold. I still like Denny as a good play. He still has one of the best average finishes. He's got more wins than I think everybody else here. We'll kind of keep track of that. But he has 5 wins in his total history here. He won last week, so he's got that momentum on his side. Toyota's been really, really fast so far this year. So no reason not to think that Denny Hamlin can't not do that. Now, if we look at his practice speeds, he was a little bit slower than Tyler Reddick or Ryan Blaney, who are the 2 drivers that I kind of put on here. I wanted to show the Ryan Blaney one a lot because he started off very slow, but his fall off actually ended up not being as bad over the course of the run. I mean, he started off just at like 30.8 and he ended his run at probably 32.8. So he really only fell off by about 2 seconds. Where Tyler Reddick came out and almost started at 30 and fell all the way off to 32.5, so almost 2.5-second fall off. So almost a half second more fall off for Tyler Reddick compared to Ryan Blaney. Now, Denny fired off a little bit faster, but he also stayed slower for almost the entire run. So that would be the only indication that I'd be like, I don't know. But I tell you what, Denny Hamlin's really good at making adjustments. When we have got high tire wear type of tracks and racing, this goes back into the old school drivers who had to take care of their tires. And I'm going to bring that up quite often because there's a couple of drivers in here that perform really, really well at high tire wear style tracks. And Denny Hamlin is absolutely one of those. All right, so that's Denny Hamlin. I still think Denny Hamlin is a good solid pick. Chase Briscoe, our winner from last fall, who also has 2 wins in the last 5 races, noted here. A 57.2 Draftkings average, which is better than Denny Hamlin's 54.4. And he's got a 10th place average finish. In the 10 total starts, 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 8 top 20s, 14.4 average finish. His average finish isn't quite as good. But remember, he was also a Stewart-Haas. And, that he's only raced 2 races with the 19 at Darlington. So, either way, Chase Briscoe's pretty good here. He's starting in 23rd. He just missed his qualifying. Plain and simple. He got into turn 1 and 2 too hard, had to get up out of the gas so he didn't wreck his car, and he just missed. I mean, his fault, but maybe our benefit. So, I'll take the potential place differential here for Chase Briscoe. We look at his practice speeds. He had one here that was a kind of an anomaly or a blip. It wasn't too far off. Well, I don't love to see these, but I'm forgiving with one. Because, maybe that was a driver in front of him that got loose and he had to check up, and that could easily slow you down a whole second for the rest of the lap. So not overly worried with one little blip. In fact, Tyler Reddick had one right here too. So not a big deal. Not that overly concerned with it. And if we look at the rest of his trajectory, he's right there with Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney for the rest of it. He's well above average. He's starting worse than average. So the average is 17.5 or 16.5, something like that. No, almost 18.5. So he's starting 23rd, and he's practiced well better than that. So I think we've got plenty of place differential potential here. All right, so 23rd, let's put him in the calculator. If we, his average finish for all the last 5 races on traditional ovals and the 5 races here at Darlington average out to 15.4. But as we saw, he has an average finish of 10th. So if we go with 23rd to 10th, and he has 10 fast laps but doesn't lead a lap, it's 51.7. That doesn't quite get us there. So he's going to need to finish up probably 7th or 6th. So he needs to get in the top 6 and have at least 10 fast laps. Anything better in these columns absolutely make him a very good potential for making the optimal. He's going to be probably fairly popular starting in 23rd, having 2 wins over the last 5 races here. Both of them were in the fall race and not the spring race. The only difference is the spring race or the fall race ends up finishing in the nighttime, where this race tomorrow will still be daylight. So it'll be hot at the track all day long. And it's not as many laps, but I think Chase Briscoe is a fine play. Just remember, he's not a sleeper. He's going to be pretty heavily owned. So when I say pretty heavily owned, I think he's probably going to be in that 30-35% range. He's one of the faster drivers with wins who are starting with a fair amount of place differential on his side. And he was decent in practice. So I think all of these are absolutely within reason. So Chase Briscoe will absolutely be there. And I'm also no problem with Denny Hamlin. All right, Kyle Larson, 10,500, starting in 4th. His practice laps were 16th and 27th in the 10-lap consecutive average. In the last 5 races here, he does have 1 win, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. He I mean, I tell you what, if this were the Xfinity car, I would definitely put him in my lineups because he blistering fast in the Xfinity car. 42.0 DraftKings average, 19th place average finish. Not all that great for average finishes. He has struggled and has been a little bit snake bitten at Darlington recently. So I could understand potentially leaving him off, but I could also look at the potential. He's still out of those 5 races, 2 times in the top 5, 1 win. It's not like he's a slouch. He just has had 2 races that I know of exactly where he ended up in other people's messes, or he just overdrove the corner, or I think he lost a tire in one. So, in both of those, he was racing in and around the top 5 and top 10. So I don't mind the Kyle Larson play. I think he'll get ownership. I'll have him in some lineups. He's probably not my favorite play, but I don't mind him. If we look at his practice speeds, he's the one here in yellow. It's perfectly fine. It's nothing extraordinary. It's slightly better than average, but he's qualified 4th. He should be practicing better than average. So it's kind of like I'll take him, I won't take him. I'm probably going to be in about the 15-20% range. So I don't think he can go out and put a stomping on the Cup field like he did with the O'Reilly Series race today. And even though he finished 4th in that race, that was a late caution, bad pit stop, not Kyle Larson's fault. They just had a slow tire change, but that could happen to anybody. So, but what does he need to do to get into that optimal lineup tier? Well, he's starting in 4th. If we're going on the premonition that we think Tyler Reddick goes out here and blisters the field, dominates this race, or even a Bubba Wallace does it, or a Chase Elliott, then we have to go with the impression that Larson probably finishes top 5 and 3rd. Well, he's going to need to lead a ton of laps. He's going to need to lead at least a segment, and I think 60 might be too much. So if we're breaking this into 6 segments of about 40-45 laps in each of those segments, because we'll end up with 5 to 8 caution laps within those segments, then it's about 40 to 45 laps per. Well, we know he's starting in 4th. He's not going to go lead the first lap. At least probably not. It's possible, but probably not. And we'll give him the 20 fast laps. It's a little less than his average here at Darlington, about average on his fast laps. So that would still, starting 4th, finish in 3rd, get him to 61 points. Still puts him in the optimal range. He's very playable. I'm not going to fade away from it. I'm probably going to be pretty even on the field. It's just going to end up being the lineup build. Now, am I going to run a whole lot of lineups with Kyle Larson and anybody else that's starting in the top 5? Probably not. And that's going to be the problem. Is I think probably Matt is right, or Family Man is right, that 2311, with all the indicators that we have, look like they probably may end up being the dominator and may end up getting the win. Not saying that's going to happen, because we don't know exactly what this tire is going to do when you've got 37 guys putting rubber down and the heat of the day actually going on. Could change the dynamic. And we don't know how hard they were actually pushing in practice. So all of a sudden you get into race trim, you start to push a little harder because you got guys all around you that want to take those spots. So that may end up wearing those tires down a little faster. So it's a little hard to say, but I think I don't mind this scenario, and I don't mind running a lineup with it. I just don't know how much I would have a Kyle Larson and a Tyler Reddick, or a Kyle Larson and a Bubba Wallace, or Chase Elliott, or 2 of any of those 4 drivers. I don't mind the Denny Hamlin because he's got enough place differential that it could easily fall into that. So hopefully that makes sense. Ryan Blaney, 10,200, starting in 7th. His practice speeds, like I said, were not good. And he is one of the guys that we are using as our constant. And it's not like, actually, it wasn't like it was bad. When you look at the actual chart, you look at this and it's like, oh my God, they were out to lunch. And then he goes out and qualifies 7th. It's like, oh my God, he outkicked his coverage here. I don't think so. Now, Darlington is not one of Ryan Blaney's better tracks, just like Las Vegas is not one of his better tracks. He's only got one top 5 in the last 5 races, 2 top 10s in those 5 races, 18 total starts, no wins, only 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, 18.7 average finish. His averages are not good here. Darlington and Ryan Blaney have not gotten along. And when you've got practice speeds like this and you're starting up towards the front, it makes me kind of question what we're looking at here. So we've got Austin Cindric here in yellow. We've got the Tyler Reddick in the green and Ryan Blaney in this blue. And he's running right at that average line. Well, the problem is he does run a little bit faster towards the end. And like I said, his fall off was not as bad as everyone else's. But starting in 7th, when your averages are this, ugh. And what would he need to do though? Starting in 7th, he's going to need to finish top 3, and this only gets him to 55 points, 54.5 points. Well, we need to get to 60 points. So he's going to need to lead more laps than this. Now, the one thing I will give Blaney, and we saw it in practice, is he has the ability to save his equipment, save his tires. When everybody else starts to pit, he may run 5 or 10 laps longer if he's in that top 10 and the guys in front of him stop early and he runs long. That potentially gives it where he can get those laps led. Now, is that for certain? Maybe, maybe not. So I think this 40 might be a little on the high side. I would actually want to bring it down to about 10. And we'll put the fast laps at about 5. Oops, that's 100. I only want 10. And that takes him to 49.75. That takes him out of the optimal. Sure, it's still top 15, but that's with the 3rd place finish. The best he's finished in the last 5 races is 5th. So that's asking a whole lot. If he finishes where he starts, he's now down to 41.75. Well, 34 is that cutoff line. Anything 9th? If he finishes outside the top 10, he's falling below the top 15 line, even if he leads 10 laps. And this is not one of his better tracks. So I'm probably going to fade off Blaney a little bit. It's not a complete fade. But once again, I'm probably not taking much more than 2 drivers starting in the top 10. And if I've got Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace or Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson, what do you do with Ryan Blaney? Because I don't think 3 drivers will start in the top 10, finish in the top 10, and make the optimal lineup. It's happened. I just don't foresee it happening with this tire situation tomorrow. Now, Ryan Blaney, like I said, he actually does pretty well with saving his tires and saving his equipment. He's not as good as Denny Hamlin is with tire wear conservation. Willie B is actually, he's okay with it. But, everything, he did lead a ton of laps last year in this race, I think it was last year in this race. In fact, we go back and look, it should be in the optimal. William Byron, not any of those. William, yeah, right here, 243. Starting first, finished in second. The spring of 2025. So this race last year. But he was also showing a lot more speed at this point in the season, where he hasn't shown a whole lot of speed yet so far this year. He did okay at Vegas last week. And his practice speeds were okay. He practiced in 15th, qualified in 13th. Probably about where he should be. Now, how far does he get up? I mean, he's got a 12.6 average finish here. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. But look at his practice speeds. He's the one here in yellow. They're kind of running right down that average line. He's nowhere near as fast as Tyler Reddick, even all the way through the long run. And he's a little faster than Ryan Blaney, but he's following the average line. I mean, that's going to leave him kind of somewhere in the teens. So he would have to finish in third, lead 30 laps, have 15 fast laps to make it to the 61.25. Well, that's ninth. Let's go to 13. He could probably fall to fifth. Yeah, so 13 to 5, lead 30 laps, have 15 fast laps. Well, you're starting in 13th, and you don't show any real speed of getting up there, so we'll give you the token 1. And he's got an average fast laps of 25 and 29. We'll leave him at 15. It's only 54 points if he finishes in 5th. Now, he'd have to finish 3rd, 2nd. Oops. 2nd would get him right to 60. Anything worse than that, and I'm not sure he makes the optimal. Now, if he kind of starts where he finishes, it's only 44 points. Sure, it's top 15 in drivers, but it's not going to make the optimal. So I don't mind taking some shots because there is a little bit of place differential here, and it kind of falls outside I don't think I want to take any more than 2 drivers starting in the top 10. I think this is not a bad spot for maybe if you take one of the 4 guys that are starting in the top 4, and you take either a Denny Hamlin or a William Byron. I think he kind of becomes interchangeable with the Denny Hamlin call when pairing with another dominator or finishing position person. Christopher Bell, $9,700, starting in 22nd. Qualified about where he practiced, 25th in single lap, 24th in 10 lap. Now, he is racing the triple. He raced the trucks. He raced the Xfinity. He did fair, slightly better than average in both of those races. Not as good as I expected him to do in both those races. So maybe he just isn't quite in tune with Darlington as he was in previous years. He's got a 14.2 average finish, 2 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s in the last 5 races. Never won here before, 13 total starts, averages 15th. Practice speeds, slightly better than average in some points and slightly worse than average in some points. Qualified slightly worse than average, so there's room to run. So start in 22nd, and I'm not going to get 40 laps led. At least the probability is not great. I will give you 10 fast laps, and you finish in 10th. So you go to 22nd to finish in 10th. It's 50.75. How far up would he need to finish? 4th or 5th? 5th or 6th. Probably closer to 5th. So needs a top 5. All the indications I'm looking at, that's a little tough. I don't mind running him because he's got the place differential here. He doesn't absolutely kill your lineup if he, falters slightly and falls back to, 10th. It's a 50.75. Let's go back and look at these optimal lineups real quick. What does 50.75 get you? Well, at his price tag, he's probably not making the optimal from the 2024 fall race. Not going to cut it for the spring of 2024. I don't think it makes the Darlington spring race. And with his price tag, it comes real close for the fall race last year. But there were 367 laps. So, he's going to need to get a better finish than that because 50.75 doesn't quite cut it. Tyler Reddick, starting from the pole. $9,500. He was 6th in single lap practice, 3rd in 10 lap consecutive average. Extremely good practice session. His history over the last 5 races is phenomenal. He has been right at almost winning these races and just slightly messes up. In fact, we saw, the spring of 24 where he dominated the race and he and Chris Buescher ended up getting into each other and ended up finishing 32nd. Still made the optimal lineup. But yeah, he's got a 10th place average finish, finished in 1st. I mean, he's got an average running position of 4.7, which is best on the board. He finished second in this race last year. I mean, all indications are he really stands a good shot of being a dominator. And his practice speeds were slightly better than average to average. It's just going to be. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler Reddick's green. That was Bubba Wallace in yellow. In green is, I mean, he's faster than everybody else. No question about it. Practice speeds were pretty much faster than everybody else. Short run, long run, whatever. Bubba, who was starting outside pole, is in yellow, and pretty much just followed the average line or slightly better than average. Well, he's starting outside pole. So I give the edge to Tyler, and we'll get at least the 40, 45 laps led. I think he ends up with more than that because he also gets the best pit stall, which is one of the important things here at Darlington. So even if he starts in first, let's say he does falter slightly and finishes in third, but leads 60 laps in his 30 fast laps, it's 67.5. And that's what his average is over the last 5 races. 30 fast laps, 62 laps led. So just hit your average and finish in third, and it's still enough to make the optimal. Anything with more laps led and more fast laps just adds to this more and more. So I like the Tyler Reddick play a lot. I do have to agree with Family Man on that one. 2311 does seem to be, I mean, they've started the year off on fire. There's not another team that's coming close to the caliber of what 2311 is doing. I mean, that's why they're first and second in points. Chase Elliott, $9,300, and that's on a consistent basis. Chase Elliott, $9,300, starting in third. Way overqualified, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I think he way overqualified. I think he outkicked his coverage, not severely. And they have been running much, much better. I mean, his practice speeds were 33rd to 32nd. In the last 5 races, no top 5s, 2 top 10s, a 11.2 average finish. Yeah, I think he has a potential. I mean, sure, things fall right. He ends up getting, could possibly get a win. I don't know if he goes and dominates. Maybe. Doubtful. I don't know. If you look at his practice speeds, they're not good. I mean, they're worse than Ryan Blaney. And Ryan Blaney was pretty darn bad. So, and he's starting in third. And he's not one that fires off super quick at the beginning of races. It happened at Dover last year, but that was kind of fluky. So, out of everybody that's starting in the top 5, I'm probably going to fade Chase Elliott the most. I'll have him in a couple of lineups, but I don't think I'm going to run a ton of Chase Elliott. And if it burns me, it burns me. There's nothing here to support the argument of a third place start. If he were starting in 13th, I could see the potential for him working his way to the front. If we think 2311 is going to potentially win, whether that's Bubba or Tyler, well, that takes the first place spot out. Even in 5th, if you don't lead any laps, and if you look at his average laps led, they're not very high. And even his fast laps aren't that high. So even if you get him to 10 laps led and 8 fast laps, it's 43.1 if he finishes in 5th. So I'm going to probably fade off of Chase Elliott. It's not a complete 0, but I'm probably going to be on the 8 to 10% ownership range. And if it burns me, it burns me. Joey Logano, $9,000. I knew Penske was slow in practice. And I kind of almost think that they were trying to fool the field a little bit. And then Ryan Blaney went out and qualified really well. And I was like, ooh, okay. Maybe that's what they were doing, is they were just really trying to really get a good feel for having a really, really long run. I don't think that's the case for Joey Logano. Because he also qualified in 29th. And if you look at his last 5 races here, he's only got 1 top 10. Now he's got 4 top 20s. So but starting in 29th, getting to 18th doesn't cut it. Now he does have a 14.8 average finish over those last 5 races. So he's running somewhere between 8th and 15th. 24 total starts, though. He's only got the 1 win with 6 top 5s out of 24 starts. I mean, it's nowhere near the caliber of Denny Hamlin. Now, the potential plus side, and I think that it's almost a gotcha. It's almost a false flag that he's starting in 29th. It's going to be like, it's Joey Logano. He's starting in 29th. He'll finish better than there. Oh, will he? He finished 20th in the fall. Look at his practice speeds. I think he just touches the average line here. Once. 1 lap. That he's close to average. That's not like, hey, I'm going to go save tires and I'm going to run down here at the end. This is, I suck, I still suck, I still suck, I still suck, and practice is over and I still suck. So I mean, yeah, there's a ton of place differential here. He's going to get a ton of ownership. I'm probably going to go the opposite way. Let's say he gets to 12th. And let's say he has the token 1 fast lap and 1 lap led. At 48.7. He needs to go and get a top 10. Well, are there any indications with practice, the trends, the last 5 races, that he gets in the top 10? I don't think so. And that only gets you to 53.7 points for $9,000. Sure, it's top 15, but that's not cutting the optimal. Nowhere close. I think it's a trap, to be perfectly honest. Not one deliberate. I just think it is a trap that people are going to fall into and be like, it's Joey Logano. He'll do well here. Well, will he? There's nothing that indicates that. Ross Chastain, 8,800, starting in 25th. I mean, at least Ross had an 11th place single lap practice speed. Fell off the 25th in the 10 lap. But he's got a 7.8 average finish. He just ran the truck, Xfinity, and now he's going to run the Cup car. There is a tendency when you do all 3 that it will help you once you come to Sunday. You just learn the track. You've learned, how if the track is changed at all, and just running the laps. Darlington is such a rhythm track of, listening to your tires, listening to the engine, and starting 25th, you've got room to run. But let's look at his practice speeds. Like I said, he fired off really quick, and in fact, for being in Group 2, to fire off with an 11th place speed, that's pretty good. Now he just runs pretty much right at average. I mean, about the same spot as Joey Logano. So I could see the argument between the two. The difference is Ross has a 7.8 average finish. Joey has a 14.8 average finish. Joey Logano finished 20th in the fall race. Ross Chastain finished 11th. Well, okay, so let's give Ross that 11th place finish. What does that get to? What does that give us? 25th to 11th, and then 5 fast laps. It's still really not enough, But if I, holding a gun to my head, pick one, I'm picking Ross before I pick Joey. Mostly because he just ran 2 races here, and he also performs pretty well at Darlington. So, Bubba Wallace, $8,500, starting in second. Like I said, his practice speeds were not near as good as Tyler Reddick's. 27th in single lap, 23rd in 10 lap. And Bubba's record here is nowhere near as good as Tyler Reddick's. Now, does that mean I think Bubba Wallace is going to all of a sudden go and finish in 15th? I don't think so. He does have an 11.4 average finish, 9.7 average running position. That's not slouchy. He finished 6th in this race last year. And so far, 23-11 this year has been really good. So I don't. Am I going to take Bubba Wallace with anybody else starting in the top 5? No. I'm not going to take anybody with anybody together that are both starting in the top 5. It's just you're asking for two drivers to have perfect races and then also figuring out which those two drivers are. So if you want to if I'm going to run a Bubba Wallace, I'm not going to run anybody else in the top 5 with him. That means I'm going to sit Tyler Reddick over Bubba Wallace. I'm going to sit Kyle Larson over Bubba Wallace. Now, I think Bubba Wallace could probably potentially beat Chase Elliott. And I don't think we've gotten to who is qualified in 5th. Which is Brad Keselowski. I don't know if I sit Brad Keselowski over Bubba Wallace. One of Brad's better tracks. Maybe. I don't know. Practice speeds for Bubba Wallace, I mean, they're good. Slightly better than average, but they're not as good as Tyler Reddick's. So I think Tyler Reddick gets out, pulls out to a 2.5 second lead to start, leads the first 40, 45 laps. Now the question is, does Bubba Wallace fall back into the trap of Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson or Brad Keselowski? I don't know. But I don't think Bubba Wallace goes and leads a bunch of laps to start. Does he eventually get there? Sure. Yeah, we'll give him. We'll even put him on here for the 40 lap of one of the cycles. Give him the 15 fast laps, and he's starting in second. And let's say he does finish second behind Tyler Reddick and leads to 40 laps. That's 58.75. Kind of looking at that 60. Now he's at 8,500. You might be able to drag this number down to 58. So maybe it does it. But you're now asking 2311, who has had a really good season to start, is on a good trend line, to both of them finishing first and second also. It doesn't happen a whole lot. It happens. It doesn't happen a whole lot. And the practice speeds were pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play that. It's just tough to try to get double dip the dominator points between the two drivers. So that's just where I'm at with it. Chris Buescher, $8,300, starting in 6th. Remember, he was the one who tangled with. Was it him or was it? I think it was Chris Buescher that tangled with him 2024. I'm going to double check that. Hold on. I keep saying that. I just want to make sure. I was at that race. That was a wild race. Darlington 2024. That's the race that Brad won. It was the spring race of 24. Brad won. Yeah, it was Buescher. C and Buescher who tangled, because Chris Buescher ended up finishing 30th in that race, was in 3rd. Reddick started in 3rd and started in 1st. And Buescher led 21 laps and Reddick led 174. Yep, I'm remembering correctly. That was a phenomenal race. And that was back with the other next gen car. Also the race that Martin Truex took out Ryan Blaney on lap 5, I think. I mean, Buescher's, I'm telling you, he is the stealth driver of the year so far. Because I want to say he's, what's the point standings? Currently, Chris Buescher is 9th in point standings. He's got 2 top 10s out of the 5 races so far. He's only led 4 laps, but he's just quietly finishing top 10s. I mean, they never talk about him really on the TV. He'll just all of a sudden be there and he'll finish 7th, 6th, 8th. He's Chris Buescher's the stealth fighter. And if we look at his practice speeds, I mean, there's nothing super duper here. There's nothing super duper on the wrong side. It's just an average, normal looking practice. And 19th and 14th, that's pretty average. But his average finish is 11th. His average running position is 10.4. I think this is one where he starts in 6 and finishes in 6. Now, do I think that's going to be enough? Probably not. Because you'd have to pair him with somebody that you do think is going to end up finishing really well. Yeah, I mean, it's only 42.75 points. At 8,300, that's not going to cut it. So, as much as I like, oh, okay, I'm interested. I think he's starting too far up for it to be stealth. I think if he's stealth, he stays there, and it's not enough points to really matter. Here's another one who's got a ton of place differential potential. And actually, if I'm looking at who do I run, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, or Ty Gibbs for place differential, I'm taking Ty Gibbs all day, every day. At least right now, he's on a heater so far this year. $8,000. Starting in 28th. Practice speeds were solid. The Gibbs cars were solid in practice. One top 5, 2 top 10s in the last 5 races here. He's got a 14.8 average finish. This is one of his better average finishes for all the tracks. He did finish 22nd in this race last year in the fall. When we look at his practice speeds, and I mean from lap 12 to pretty much almost all the way across, at least 12 to 28, he is as fast, if not faster, than Tyler Reddick. And he just missed his qualifying run. His fault, our gain? Yeah. I think he's easily a top 10. Started off having a phenomenal year. His head seems to be in a much better place. Just get up to 7th. We'll give you the 1 token lap led and the 15 fast laps. 7th place, 65 points. I really like the Ty Gibbs call. Now, with that being said, I think because he is running well, he has the potential of having a pretty significant amount of ownership. What I'm saying is probably 30%. So I'll probably be about even on the field with that. So the thing is, I think he gets paired with Joey or Ross in the builds. And I think that's going to be a very popular build. So will I have a lineup or two that has Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano, and probably Ross Chastain in it? Yeah, there's good potential. Am I going to run that a lot? No, I might run it once. Kyle Busch, $7,800, starting in 8th. A good practice session for Kyle Busch. 9th in single lap, 4th in 10 lap consecutive average. He was in Group 1, which is the faster of the 2 groups. But either way, out of all the tracks recently, he's got 11.6 average finish. Only 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. Not bad. I mean, he finished in 8th. I mean, this is kind of like, is Kyle going to start in 8th and finish in 8th? And that's going to be a decent run for him? His practice speeds were, where they should have been. Better than average, except for towards the end. About lap 26, 27, he really started to struggle and fall off. But do I think right now Kyle finishes any better than 8th? I don't think he gets in the top 5. So I think he's still starting too far up. I mean, the optimal line here at this point definitely has dropped down to 55. But we're still 13 points, 12 points out of that. He's going to need to get a top 3 and probably lead 20 laps. I'm not sure Kyle Busch knows what to do leading a race in the Cup Series at this point. But even that still only gets him to 53 points. So, yeah, will I have a couple of lineups with Kyle Busch? Yeah. Maybe max up, probably 5 to 8%. like 4 lineups, 5 lineups. Carson, Chaos, Hurricane, Hocevar. Yeah, I did that the CCHH. So Chaos Hurricane. We'll call it Chaos Hurricane. I'll just change his name. $7,700 starting in 16th. Went out and put a blistering lap. But he was one of the first 2 or 3 guys on the track. And if you watch practice consistently, anytime Carson Hocevar is in the first group of practice, he loves being the first guy on the track because he knows that he can lay down a super fast lap and he can feel all good about himself. I see this all the time in iRacing. Is like there's the groups that I run with, there's about 6 drivers. They are literally the first ones on the track. They lay down this fast lap, and then the track rubber's in, and everybody's like, how did you run that lap? How did you run that lap? And then they end up being worthless in a race because they raced on a clean track, and then they didn't know how to race in a rubbered-in track. Carson Hocevar is going to absolutely blister his tires. He's probably going to wreck, if not once, twice. He's going to do the same thing he did in the Truck Series. He's going to ruin somebody else's night, including his own. I have absolutely no interest in Carson Hocevar. Even if he were, the only way I'd be interested in him if he was starting 35th and he had to go to a backup car. And even then, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. And, I mean, look, he fires off really fast. And it's like, whoa. Like I said, I can deal with 1 blip, not 2 blips, within less than 10 laps of each other. It means you just absolutely burn the living crud out of your tires. And now your car handles like crap. So, I mean, he's got an average finish of 23.4 out of 5 starts. Nope. Not interested. Not even close. I'm not even sure I have a lineup with him. I might be a complete fade on Carson Hocevar. Which is a shame because I kind of like him, but not for this track. He doesn't have enough discipline to do that. He can run fast. Don't get me wrong. He can't. He doesn't know how to save the tires. He proved that in the truck race Friday night. Yeah, he came to the front, and he'll come to the front tomorrow too. Guaranteed. He'll make it into the top 5. And then he'll fade. And then he'll wreck. And then the day will be over for him. Brad Kozlowski starting in 5th, $7,600. He practiced 22nd, single lap, 10th, and 10 lap. He does have 1 win in the last 5 races here. I was there for that win. 13.8 average finish. Finished in 15th last fall. Has an average running position of 15.1. He's starting in 5th, so he's going to have to start in the top 5, finish in the top 5. And I get that. So there's practice speeds. I mean, for a Ford, just slightly better than average for almost the entire run. Now, he's starting way better than average, so he's going to need to do more than that. Brad is one of the old school drivers who absolutely, just like Denny Hamlin, knows how to save his equipment. Run just fast enough, don't have to run too fast, be there at the end, then you can turn the heat up. I'll run longer than everybody else, I'll stay on the track longer than everybody else, I'll make it up on the back end. Brad does that over and over again. Time and time again. I think Brad is one of the drivers that I think easily could start 5th, finish 5th, have a decent day. Now, it's $7,600. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. 5th to 5th and have 10 fast laps. And I think he'll cycle through to the lead for maybe 10 laps. 46 points. He's going to need to get to 50 or 55. We're at $7,600. 50 or 55 points. Not quite there. So maybe he finishes in 4th. 48. No, he would need to lead 20 laps. That still doesn't quite get us there, though. 15 fast laps. Nope, gonna need more. 20 and 30. which is asking a lot because he's only got 10 and 7. That takes him to 57. He could finish in 5th. Possible. Maybe. I'm willing to take a couple shots on it. I'm not going to run a whole lot of it, though. I'll probably have equal amounts, or maybe not even equal amounts. I might have just slightly less of Brad as I do Kyle Larson. Eric Jones. Hey, Joanne, if you're still here, we're talking about your guy for this week. $7,500. Yes, he was fastest in practice. He was also in Group 1. He was also one of the first drivers on the track. Now, his fall-off speed was okay. He does pretty well here. He's got a 14.6 average finish. And guess what? He finished 3rd in the fall race last year. Like I said, this is one of Eric Jones' better tracks. He has 2 wins here. I think that's, the one track he has multiple wins at. 12.8 average finish. Well more than half the time he's finishing in the top 10. Starting in 24th, plenty of room to run. Like I said, he was a Group 1, which is the fast group. But by the time we get to 16 or 17, he's running the average spot. I mean, he's starting 24th. If we get you up to 12th, what does that give us? 24th, get up to 12. You can have 5 fast laps. We'll give you the 1 token. Well, that's only 45.5. Gonna need to get to 50. He's gonna need to get to his top 10. Top 10 for Eric Jones. Have 5 fast laps. Don't even have to lead the 1 lap. The token 1 lap. Yeah, I like the call out there. I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I really like pairing Eric Jones up with Ty Gibbs. It's a good little pairing right there. And it's $7,500, and whatever Ty Gibbs was at, it wasn't that expensive. $8,000. Yeah, I mean, you got plenty of room to run at that point. You're not going to have the salary cap should not be that big of an issue this week. All right, Ryan Preece, another driver. Keep in mind, really good at short and intermediate style tracks. Is also really good at tire conservation. With that being said, practice speeds were 28th to 16th. Everybody knew that this race was going to be a potentially high tire wear. Did he go out and practice like it was going to be a high tire wear? Maybe. And so I said, it's so hard sometimes to know what these guys' thought processes were when they're practicing. Was Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and those guys running for high tire wear to see what their tires look like after 30 laps? I don't know. You won't ever know because you don't know what they discussed before they went out. And they could pretend all they want on the radio, be like, oh my gosh, I suck. And the next day they come out and run super well. Happens all the time. I would do that all day. Why would I tell everybody what I got and what I don't have? But either way, I mean, I think he's got average speed. Guess what? He qualified average. Problem is, if you qualified average and you practiced average and your average is average, you're probably going to be average. Now, the high tire wear potentially comes into play for him. So the problem is, I mean, 17th to 16th, 5 fast laps only get you to 30 points. It doesn't put you in the top 15. He's going to need to get to a top 10. He's going to need to do a lot better than that. Top 7 and 10 fast laps. That's getting a lot when your averages aren't up there. Puts you at 51.7. Is Ryan Preece top 7 for this race? I'll take some shots on it. I'm not going to go super heavy. Like, I'll probably run, if I'm running 80 lineups, I'll probably run 8, so probably 10%. Maybe 10 or 11 lineups, so somewhere between 10 and 15%, probably closer to 12. Josh Berry, $7,100. Josh Berry is probably one of the best tire conservation drivers in the Cup Series. Hands down, plain and simple. Doesn't get to show it off very often because he just has bad luck. And in fact, if you look at the average where he has been running at certain races in the past, he's been running in the top 10 and gets something bad happens to him. I mean, heck, he made the playoffs last year, and literally the first round of the playoffs, he gets knocked out of this race. And that just spurred the rest of his bad luck for the first round. But starting in 26th, I mean, he was 10th and 7th in practice. He was quick in practice. Now, he was in Group 1, which is the faster group. But, I mean, starting in 26th, I'm going to have some shots of Josh Berry. It's not that far of a reach. 26th to 11th is 48.6. That almost puts you there. Get to a top 10, and I think he's there. Top 10, 3 fast laps. Don't even really have to lead a lap. Gets you into the optimal. $7,100. Yeah, I will definitely have plenty of shots with Josh Berry. I'll have more ownership in Josh Berry than I will Joe Logano. Yep. Austin Cindric, 6,900. Practice speed's really good, Austin, but you also practiced in Group 1, which was the faster group. Starting in 12th. I think you'll get your coverage here. Never finished in the top 10 here before. Now, you're pretty consistent with finishing in the top 20, but on the back half of that top 20, 17.4, average running position of 18, well, you qualified 12th. Like I said, practice speeds were really good. Had one little blip. Okay, whatever. I mean, good practice speeds. Group 1, though. You're rubbering in the track. I mean, even if he finishes where he starts, it's not going to be enough. 31.5. I mean, he's way off. He's going to need to finish 5th? 4th? I just don't see Austin Cindric finishing top 5 when he has never finished in the top 10 at Darlington. So, sorry, Austin Cindric, in my opinion, outkicked his coverage. I will be taking a pass. Connor Zilic, I mean, he was in the first group. He practiced pretty quick, 7th and 8th, single lap and 10 lap. Although we don't have much information on him. Ran the Xfinity Series race fairly well last year. I don't think he won. But I mean, his practice speeds were okay. He's starting 32nd. I mean, you're kind of shooting darts with this kid. You just don't know. So far, he has not been good on the ovals in the next gen experiment at this point. But I mean, can he go and if he gets to 16th? I mean, it's probably not enough. It's $6,700. It would have to be in the right lineup for a 16th to work. He's going to need to probably get 13th place. On an oval like this, he's going to need some luck on his side to get up there at this point. Is he capable? Absolutely. I think he's probably one of the better drivers in the sport. He just doesn't have the experience yet. Justin Allgaier, our winner from the Xfinity Series. I loved seeing him with his 2 daughters and giving them a ride around the track. It was kind of very reminiscent of Denny Hamlin last week at Vegas. So I love that these guys are so close to their families, and their families come, and it's a family sport, and it's really cool. Starting 15th, I don't know. I think he's starting too far up. I mean, he's still getting used to this car. I would love to be able to put Justin Allgaier in my lineups, but I'm not sure he finishes any better than 15th. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's starting too far up. Let's just put it that way. Zane Smith starting in 19th. I mean, Zane's definitely got some tracks that he's good at, and he's got some tracks that he's okay at, and this is he's okay at it. I mean, like there are definitely some tracks out there that Zane, like I think when we go to Kansas, Zane has got some really good finishes. More of the flat ovals, he does really well. I think he did well at Phoenix. So I don't know if he gets any better than 19th. I mean, his average finish is 20.5. His practice speeds were about there. He was in Group 2, which is the slower of the two, and he qualified 19th. I mean, maybe he gets to 12th. 12th enough? I don't think so. I mean, maybe it's 6,300. It is. That's why I like this calculator, because I go, well, maybe. If he gets to 12th, 40.5, and he's 10 points off. He's going to need to finish 9th, 8th. I mean, I think Zane is probably the best driver at front row right now. And then it's a real jungling contest for between Noah Gregson and Todd Gilliland. 1 week one does well, and the other week the other one does well. Zane's probably the best of the three. Still inconsistent though, because I think the team is inconsistent. Will I take a couple shots on Zane? Yeah. Am I going to go any more than probably 10%? No. Just like John Hunter Nemechek, probably not going to go any more than a couple of lineups. He's starting 21st. He's got some room to run, but his average finish here is 22.5. One top 5 out of 5 starts. Out of his 6 total starts, he has 2 top 10s. Okay, but still a 22.3 average finish. Practice speeds were about probably where he should have qualified, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not sure he gets any better than 18th. And 18th isn't going to cut it when you start 21st. 21st, 18th, not going to be enough. 28.7. He's going to need to get well inside the top 10. 8th, getting close to 8th would probably get him close enough. I just don't know if John Hunter's got an 8th place in him. At least not right now. He does, but I just don't know right now. Take a couple shots with him. I wouldn't completely sit him out. AJ Allmendinger, $6,100. Starting in 27th. Practice speeds were 13th, and he did not do a 10-lap consecutive average. This is actually AJ's one of his better tracks also. He's got a 12th place average finish. 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 3 top 20s. And I think that he only has 3 starts. He finished 5th in the fall here last year. The thing I don't like is, like, I don't mind a little blip. This is a off the chart blip. This is a 5-second fall off in 1 lap. Starting 27th, I definitely not. I don't mind taking some shots here. It's not going to take a whole lot to get into potential optimal range. 10th easily does it. 15th gets you close. Get to a 14th. Oh, I don't know if he leads that many laps. Let's move that. So 12th. Top 10. Top 11. We'll probably get him there. He finished 5th in the fall race here last year. The problem is I still don't know if I trust Colleague because they don't have any manufacturing support. But if anybody can wheel it to a potential top 10, it's probably AJ. I'll take some shots on it, but I'm not going to go real heavy or real deep. Micah McDowell at $6,000. Practice speeds were 8th and 30th in the long run. 26.4 average finish. He never finished in the top 5, only 3 times out of 20 starts in the top 10, and only once in the last 5 races. Practice speeds were about average, starting in 20th, which is about average. Without some real luck, I don't know if there's anything here. I'd rather take AJ starting in 27th than McDowell starting in 20th. Now, he's so cheap, he only needs to probably get to 45. So he probably needs a top 10 just like AJ. So will I have some ownership in Michael McDowell? Yeah, probably 5 to 8%. Daniel Suarez starting in 11th, 23.2 average finish, only two top 20s. He's only finished in the top 10 once out of 16 total starts. His practice speeds looked, pretty good, but he's starting at 11th. This is probably a 16th, 17th, 18th practice run. Was in Group 2, which was the slower of the two groups. So, but starting 11th, he outkicked his coverage too. He'd have to finish top 3. No, top 5, top 7. He's only finished in the top 10 once out of 16 starts. SVG starting in 33rd. He's got 2 total starts here with an average finish of 26. One top 10, or one top 20. He finished 32nd in the fall race here last year, starting in 33rd. Practice speeds, he was in Group 1, so it's the faster of the two groups, and he still, he was okay. Yeah, the problem is I just don't trust SVG. Is it a complete fade? No, because it's not gonna need a lot. 20th gets him to 36. He needs to get to probably at least 45. 15? Yeah, top 15 for SVG. It's tough. I don't know. It's not a complete fade. It's probably like 4 to 6 lineups out of 8. So in that 5 to 8% range. Yeah, it's probably pretty much where I'm going to have a lot of these guys. It's just going to be a lot of mix and match with them. I'm not going to go super heavy. I'm not going to go super light. It's just going to be kind of middle of the road with all of them. One or two of them are going to hit. One or two of them have to hit because you need some of this price range. Noah Gregson starting in 30th. Practice speeds were His average finish is 19.8. He finished 14th in this race last year. His 3 top 20s have happened all in the last 5 races here, so that's good. Practice speeds were, Zane Smith looked way better. Like I said, Zane Smith is the better of the 3 drivers at Front Row Motorsports. Now, is Noah's awful? They're not great. Probably about 30th. So there's not a whole lot here that I really, really like about the Noah Gregson play other than his price tag. So he doesn't need a whole lot. But he's going to need a definitely top 15. Needs to be probably closer to 14th. 14th or 15th would probably get him there. Can he cut it in half? He did in the fall last year. Maybe. I'll have some shots on it. I'm not going nowhere near as deep as I did a couple weeks ago. That was a mistake. So, I'm a little bit on the I got burned by Noah syndrome. Todd Gillen starting in 31st. He was 20th in single lap, did not do a 10-lap consecutive run, had 40 laps of practice though. 3 top 20s in the last 5 races. It's kind of where Noah Gregson is. 19.6 average finish starting in 31st. Okay. So not bad. Practice speeds, he didn't practice enough. He also didn't have a 10-lap consecutive run, did he? Nope. At average or better than average and starting in 31st. If I'm going to run Noah in 6 lineups, I'm probably going to run Todd Gillen in 8. So 10% to 12%, slightly more. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 5,400. Ooh, starting in 18th. Good job on your qualifying lap there, Ricky. I'm not touching you. Not even close. 1 top 10 in the last 20 starts, only 1 top 20 in the last 5 starts, 23.2 average finish starting in 18th. His practice speeds were good to slightly better than average, but you qualified average. So you improve to 16th. Even at $5,400, that's not going to cut it, I don't think. Pretty much sure it won't. 18th, get up to 16th. Nope, you're way off. You're going to need a top 10. Need better than a top 10. So yeah, Ricky, good luck. Austin Dillon, 5,300, qualified in 10th. What the? Average finish of 21.8, only twice in the top 20 in the last 5 races, never in the top 10. So, I mean, way back when he had 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, but in the last 5 races, nope, not even close. Practice speeds were at best average if we went across the board, but I mean, he definitely fell off really bad and never recovered. The average line caught you. So, yeah, starting in 10th. I mean, at best, he finishes in 10th, and that's not going to cut it. 10th to 10th, 34.7. He's still 10 points off. He'd have to finish 6th, 5, 5th or better. And that's still pretty close. Eesh. Nope. Starting way too far up. Cole Custer, 35th starting spot, $5,100. But damn, Cole Custer, you haven't done much for us here lately. 24th in single lap, 22nd in 10 lap consecutive average. And now this line is only 2 races deep. So the last 2 races he's finished outside the 20th, which means he pretty much finished 21st and 25th. Now, if that's the case, and he really has a 23rd place average finish, 35th to 24th might actually be enough at 5,100. Practice speeds were, not all that great, but you don't have to go very far. 35th. What we say his average finish was? 23rd. I think he's going to need probably more than 23rd. Let's see. 23rd. 31.7. Yeah, he's going to need like an 18th. Needs a 15th. 16th. Top 16 from Cole Custer. That might be a little tough. I'm still going to run him because he's super cheap. Starting almost next to last. We have Timmy Hill running in this thing. I like Timmy a lot. Great dude, but he literally spun on lap 5 of practice today. Now he's trying to stay out of the way. I get it, but he still can't spin out. Ty Dillon, starting in 36th, has an average finish of 26.3. He finished 34th in this race last year. Never finished in the top 10, only once in the top 20 in the last 5 races, only 6 times ever. 21.8. Practice speeds were, I'll have a couple of ownership runs with Ty Dillon, like 4, maybe 5. Really, probably about it. I just don't, at this point, I definitely don't trust them or a colleague. Like I said, he's got a ton of room to run. 20th would get him 41.75. Well, he's not leading 2 laps. I don't want to give him the token 1, but I give everybody the token 1. And we'll give him 2 fast laps. And it's 17 and 2. It needs to get probably, actually a 20th place or better. I'll have some shots with him. I'll have some shots with Cole. I'm probably looking at 3 to 4. So I don't think we're necessarily going to have that much of a problem staying in the salary cap. The most expensive driver on the board is $11,000. Cody Ware starting in 34th. Guess what? He did 30 laps of practice again. This is the highest. Once again, I'm not saying I'm going to take Cody Ware. We're not there yet. Once again, I said way back a year ago, 2 years ago, God, why is Cody Ware only running 5 laps of practice? Stop it. You can do better. And he is. I think he's got an average finish. What's the current trend line on Cody Ware? Hold on. I'm actually interested. The current trend line for Cody Ware. I know it's not great. It's actually 31.6. I know that's not great. But last year at this time, he was probably 35th. It's a vast improvement compared to where he was. And guess what? It's because he's practicing. And then maybe they're putting a little bit more better equipment or a different engineer. I don't know exactly. But either way, they're at least practicing. I mean, he made it all the way out to here. And he's got a couple spikes here, but he made it out to here. I mean, this is Cody Ware. This is like, I would typically spend the amount of time I'm going to spend on Timmy Hill is what I would spend on Cody Ware. I'm actually spending a little bit of time on Cody Ware now because I'd like to see this progression. I think it's good. Now, he's starting in 34th. I'll take Ty Dillon and Cole Custer over Cody Ware at this point. But guess what? Cody Ware now has a higher price tag than Riley Herbst. Can we just stop the experiment now? And Riley can go run trucks for Corey Heim, and Corey Heim can come run this. Now his practice speeds actually looked pretty good. I'll give him that. And he's qualifying in 14th. Good qualifying effort, but there's just nothing here. His average finish is 31st. He's only got 2 starts, but 31st. I don't see him finishing any better than 14th. This isn't a super speedway. So I'm fading off of Riley Herbst. And there's Timmy Hill starting in 37th. I couldn't even get it to register on the chart, so I didn't even put it up. I'm not taking him. I'm not interested in him. He's going to, if he makes it to lap 100, I'll be shocked and amazed. All right, let's run it down. Let's look at this real quick. We're an hour and 45 minutes in. If anybody's got any thoughts, wants, questions, concerns, whatnot, get your questions in now or forever hold your peace or send me an email. I do respond to those. But either way, good luck to everyone. Probably my favorite play is Denny Hamlin, and these are going to be popular. Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Byron, Bell, all of them will be popular. I do not think any of them, maybe Denny's a potential dominator, maybe William Byron, but I really honestly think the front row is going to be probably the spot for the dominators, which would be Tyler Reddick, maybe an outside shot, Bubba Wallace. But I'm probably going to have a decent amount of ownership in Tyler Reddick. I might run one lineup, would have a Bubba and a Tyler together, but most of it's going to be if I run Tyler. Andrew says, sure, how to build? How many dominators? You're not sure. Okay, so I'm not sure if you caught the beginning. We'll go back and look at the optimal lineups for the last 4 races real quick. So one true dominator in the fall race from last year. But Chase Briscoe also led 309 of the 367 laps. But that's pretty much the trend line for the last 4 races here. 4 place differentials, but we had Tyler Reddick, who started in 4th, finished in 2nd. Not really a dominator, but he was a start up front, stay up front. He got 52.4 points. Realistically, we're looking for a 60-point threshold cutoff. So it's about 4 place differentials, 1 true dominator, and 1 start up front, stay up front. Now, if we go to the spring race, we've got William Byron, 1 dominator, 243 laps. Started from the pole, finished in 2nd, 140 points. Haha, I'm back. Good to see you, Daniel. You caught up, I guess. I guess you fast forward through Timmy Hill. I'm kidding. I spent a long time talking about him. How was dinner, by the way? 243 points. So 1 dominator again. So you were asking the question, how many dominators? Absolutely 1. You can get away with 2, but thinking that the second one is a start up front, stay up front. And that could go vice versa. So like Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick. Great example. 1 starts in 4th, 1 starts in 1st. Both of them are more than capable of dominating and running and having a dominant day. Which one? We don't know. Both of them have a really good potential of starting up front, staying up front. So you could run the 2 of them in the same lineup. Once again, one dominator, Kyle Larson, 263 laps, started in 4th, finished in 4th. Chase Briscoe, started up front, stayed up front, led 29 laps, only got 67 points. Denny Hamlin, 14-7, a little bit of place differential, did lead a couple laps, had a couple fast laps, at 70 points. But once again, it's one dominator, one finishing spot. Start up front, stay up front. Now, spring of 24, we had Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick led 174 laps and ended up finishing in 32nd. So he led enough laps, was dominator enough to be considered the dominator, but everybody else started up front, stayed up front. I mean, he lost 31 spots of place differential and still ended up in the optimal. Pretty crazy. The steak was great. Now on to crushing DFS lineups, just like you did on Friday. Yeah. Congratulations on your third place, I think is what you said. Either way, it was a good win. So hopefully, Andrew, that answers your question on who to take, how many to take. Don't worry about, yes, you always want to worry about your salary cap, but don't worry if you've got 1,000, 2,000, because literally we had 1,900 and 2,800 and 5,100 left over. Now, I think those are a little on the extreme side. I think you're perfectly fine leaving $500 to $1,500 left on the table. And if you have one or two lineups that has more, don't. If you like the lineup, stay with the lineup. Don't freak out if you're like, oh my God, I still have $2,000 left on the board. What? I've got to fix my lineup. If you like it, stay with it. It's okay. Yeah, we only had 1 out of 3 that used all of it, but that's oddly strange. That doesn't happen very often. Andrew also asked, you think if tires are a tire issue, we could see lead laps more spread out? If there are tire issues, we will have high tire wear, no doubt. That was proven in practice. The thing is, though, is if we get to lap 40, if the 8th place driver, even if he's 3 to 4 seconds back, if he pits, let's say it's Denny Hamlin, let's say Tyler Reddick jumps out to lead and runs in the lead for 40 laps. Denny Hamlin, who is starting in 9th, gets all the way up to 7th and pits on lap 40, it will bring the entire field with him because it's going to be a 4-second differential for every lap that Denny Hamlin runs while everybody else stays out. If you stay out, you are absolutely trying to go to lap 60 to a point to where they would literally catch you at that point. But the problem is you would need to run to lap 90. And you're not going to make a 90 lap run on these tires. So you can't run the whole thing. You can't run the whole stage in one fell swoop. At least on nothing that I'm seeing would indicate you could do it. I mean, I guess you could, but you'd literally be 6 to 7 seconds slower than the rest of the field. Even after they get figured out, you'll get, if you did that, you would get lapped. The guys that came in and pitted would go back out, unlap themselves, and then lap you again. Daniel asks, have you looked at the contest on FanDuel? That's the $3.20 max, decent compared to the Chrome Horde and DK. I have not played FanDuel in 10 years. Couldn't even tell you how to make a solid, good lineup because I know the points get spread out differently than they do on DraftKings. So I could have figured it out pretty quickly, sure, but I have not looked over there at all. I mean, I guess the question is, it's a $3.20 max. What's the total payout? How many people are they paying out? And how many entries are they allowing in? You know, it all falls back into the same thing. And everything that I'm seeing is, you know, it's DraftKings makes a shit ton of money. Sorry, a stupid amount of money on DFS. 15,000 is the total prize, or 3,000. Okay, so total prize purse of 15,000. So yeah, let's pull down a calculator. I'm still going to continue to run DFS because I like it, but it is such a racket. They make more money on DFS than they do in the gambling sites all day long. Because if you think about 5,900 times, what'd you say, $3? So they're making 27. So FanDuel by itself is making $2,700 just on that contest. FanDuel by itself, the company, right? But what you're saying is the total purse is 15,000. FanDuel is, if they take all of the money, it's 17,700. So FanDuel by itself is taking $2,700 just to run that one tournament in NASCAR. That doesn't include all the other tournaments that they're running out there. Pays the top 1,500 entries, so I mean it's still the 25% threshold, slightly less than 25%. What's the chrome horn on DK? Hold on, let me look. DraftKings. I mean, it's stupid how much. It's 100,000, but there's 29,000 people in it. It's crazy. Oops. Yeah, so you've got, pull the calculator back up again. So yeah, I mean, you got 20,000 for first. Let's say you run all 80 line. Let's say you run the 20 lineups. It's $80 in. Well, you're gonna have to finish at least 2 lineups in the top 100 of 29,000 people. But if we do the math, let's say they sell the whole thing out. 29,700 times 4. $118,000 that they're going to collect, and they're going to pay out 100. DraftKings will make almost $19,000 on the chrome horn by itself tomorrow. Telling you, go buy shares of DraftKings. They're not losing money anytime soon or ever. And that's just one of the lineups. Look at this one. Here's the $350,000 top prize, but it's $20 to get in. Yeah, this is where you just go, oh my God, I'm sick to my stomach. 20,500 times 20. $410,000 is what they're going to collect, and they're going to pay out $350,000. DraftKings makes $60,000 on that contest. So between those two contests, DraftKings is going to make $80,000 in 2 contests. Then we've got the lug nut. Do the same thing again. DraftKings will make $100,000 just in these 2 contests. 23,700 times the $5. 118,000. They're gonna make 18,500 on that one. Out of those top 3 contests, DraftKings makes $100,000. Nuts. That they take. That's insane. Yeah. That's forced them playing cash poker. Yeah. So go buy DraftKings stock. What is DraftKings stock? DraftKings stock price is, oops. 2367. What's their market cap? $11.6 billion market cap is what the company's valued at. Their quarter financials, they made $2 billion in a quarter. It was a 42% year over year revenue. And guess what? Their earnings they missed. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. Do they pay a dividend? DraftKings does not pay a dividend and has no history of paying dividends. Yep. If DraftKings paid a dividend, I would buy it. But what's their high stock price? 5 year. 61. I'm sure they've split. DraftKings, based on market data, DraftKings has not executed any stock splits since it became public in April 2020. That's crazy that they have fallen in the last 5 years 67%, but they're making $2 billion a year. I'd have to dive more into that. That doesn't seem right. That's a buy and a half. Yeah, if you're looking for a little safer bet, go buy some DraftKings stock. Yeah, it is worse than playing cash poker, but it's number one. I get two things out of it. I love NASCAR, and by doing DraftKings, I am now invested pretty much across the field. Sure, Kyle Larson's my favorite driver, but I mean, tomorrow I'm probably going to be a Tyler Reddick fan for part of the day, or I'm not going to be upset if Tyler Reddick wins. Some days I actually have to be a Joey Logano fan, and I cannot stand Joey Logano. So, yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. Take the good with the bad. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to win on DraftKings. Plain and simple. So for you to do as well as you did on Friday, thumbs up, bud. For me to do as well as I've done this year, last year, and the year prior. Now there is some skill to it, but yeah, it's you just have to understand what you're doing and understand this is not a get rich by any means. This is this is entertainment, if anything. And every once in a while, you might get lucky enough or fortunate enough to take down a big pot. I've done it. And it's fun and it's awesome. It becomes a little addicting, and then you have to take a step back and be like, okay, so I advocate do not ever spend or gamble any more than you can afford. If you can't afford it, play the free ones, play the dimes. It does the same thing. It gets you invested in it. It gets you interested in it. If you're new to it, play the dimes, play the quarters. I mean, if you can't afford to lose the $5 on the quarter, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be doing DraftKings. Plain and simple. But if you're trying to figure it out, don't go and put $80 into the Chrome Horn. If you're trying to figure it out, go play the 50 cent 100 max. Go play the quarter 20 max and learn it. I've literally been playing DraftKings NASCAR since it started, probably 12 years ago, 14 years ago. And I mean, I've got so many spreadsheets that I can't even keep them straight at this point. That's why I'm so happy I've got my AI online right now. And it's digging through all of my spreadsheets at this point. And it's going to start calculating and working on all my worksheets because it's just almost gotten too much. And, it'll be interesting to see what it comes up with. But, yeah. So, back to your question, Andrew. 1 dominator, 1 solid finisher. So that's 2 that could be potential dominators, with the expectation of one of them actually is a dominator, one's a finishing spot. then it's probably 2 drivers that will have right at 7 to 10 place differential points. Because I mean, if you're looking maybe like at a Cole Custer starting in 35th, but he's only $5,000. He only needs to get you 45 points. He's going to end up. What do we decide? Cole Custer. It wasn't a whole lot for him to be value, or potentially make. I mean, it's going to take the right lineup for Cole Custer to be there. But yeah, a 16th place finish gets him to 46 points. That puts him there. So, that's a 20. That's still a 20 point. But you're looking for 2 dominators / finishers and 3 decent place differentials, and then 1 kind of start 22nd, finish 10th. So hopefully that helps. If you guys have any other questions, thoughts, concerns, hit me up in the chat. You can always go back and comment on the video in the future. I do get notifications sometimes. Probably the best way is to send an email, Mark at Racing in the Draft. You can ask Daniel. I reply fairly quickly, not as quickly as I probably should, but I answer back pretty quickly. And I'll give you the advice because it's free. Don't get mad at the guy who gave you free advice, because that's all it's worth. 0. It might help you out. I think I may have helped Daniel on Friday a little bit. He still put the lineups in. That was still his choice. Probably didn't help him out much today. He gave back a little today. But so did I. Today was not the good day for DraftKings. Friday was okay. So you win some, you lose some. It's okay. Part of the game. Part of learning. As long as you figure it out later. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been 2 hours and 7 minutes. Time for me to head to bed soon. Get up and get all these entries ready. I'm going to finish watching some basketball. Looks like we got some pretty good scores going on. Vanderbilt and Nebraska are 3 minutes left with a 1-point game. Arkansas and High Point are close. High Point's still in the lead. Oh, wow, that's big. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. Good luck tomorrow. If you have any questions, email me. If you happen to take home a big pot, definitely let me know. I love celebrating, love hearing about it. And, real quick, next week, I go to Martinsville every year, both the fall and the spring race. That is next week. I will go live because there is no Friday night race. Love that. I will go live probably 11 a.m. on Friday. And I will do a pre-qualifying, pre-practice breakdown. So it pretty much goes over who actually is fast here, who typically runs good, who's got the best top 5s, who's got the best average finishing spots. All of that information I'll go through. Then I will go live again on Sunday morning from my best friend's house, who lives in Danville, for a very quick, when I mean this is a 2-hour one, I go through this entire thing in 20 minutes. And it is a speed round. I don't really take a whole lot of questions. I don't stick around to answer a whole lot of things because I got to get to the racetrack. But I do still do a video on the weekends I go to Martinsville. So let me know if you have any questions or thoughts about that. Definitely email me on those weekends. I'll do my best to answer you. But that's the schedule for Martinsville, as I go live Friday morning, do the pre-race stuff before qualifying and all that. And then I do a quick 20, maybe max a 30-minute breakdown after qualifying and all that setup. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend. Spring has sprung, and the pollen is coming down in Richmond like it's snowing. Not looking forward to the next 2 weeks of yellowness everywhere, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks. Bye.
coming to life.
Can you still take the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job.